Hey there, I hope you are enjoying your summer so far. Welcome back to She Speaks Life. This is a space where we get filled up with encouragement, come alongside other women who put their faith into action, and understand the power in what we say. It can either bring life or destruction. And that's found in Proverbs 18:21. And Proverbs 10:11 says, "The mouth of the righteous is a fountain of life." And I want to welcome you to check out not only these interview episodes, but my solo episodes called Fuel Your Life, found within this podcast. These episodes are where we take a deeper dive into specific scripture and learn how to, like James 1:22 says, not just be hearers of the word, but be doers of the word as well. Because when we put into action with what the word says, that's where obedience happens. It's giving our faith legs or wings to move and show up in our lives. We also have fun personalizing scripture together using the journal called Serenity that you can find on my website, and the link is in the show notes below, but it's absolutely not required to use for these episodes. And I gotta say, it's such a blessing to hear how much you're loving these episodes, and I hope to find you there each and every time. So for today's episode, I bring you author Tondra Gregory of her book called The Marriage Game Plan, Developing a Winning Strategy for Marital Success. Tondra and her husband George are founders of Journey for Life, and both wrote this book to help equip and educate couples for success in their marriage. Tondra is a professional counselor and therapist. Her and George are chaplains of the NFL team, the Chargers, and have helped numerous other athletic teams and churches follow God's playbook for marriage. I absolutely enjoyed this conversation so much as we talked about why marriages need a game plan, a vision statement, and how important it is that we understand that we are on the same team and that marriage is a reflection of God's image to the world. So whether you are not married yet, just got married, or been married for a long time, it's never too late to get this book and develop a game plan on how to navigate and or respond in a loving way in your marriage. I absolutely love my new friend Tondra, and I know you will too. So if you're ready, I'm ready. Let's dive in. Here's my guest, Tondra Gregory. Hi, Tondra. Welcome to She Speaks Life. I'm so excited you are here with us today.
Thank you so much for having me. I'm so excited for this conversation.
I know. I love your message on marriage, and boy, do we need a message to encourage us at times. And you and your husband are both in this ministry. And because it's She Speaks Life, we just have you on here to share.
Yes.
So you both are chaplains for the NFL team, the Chargers, and have done other teams as well. And so I'd love to dive in more into that. And before we do, I love to start out with each conversation with asking the guest, what is a scripture verse that resonates right now in your life and why?
Yes. I am really connecting with Jeremiah 29:11 right now, which is, I know the plans I have for you, declares the Lord, plans to prosper you, not to harm you, plans to give you a hope and a future. And this scripture is resonating with me most right now because we are going into uncharted territory outside of our comfort zone. And being authors is just a new wing that the Lord is adding to us. And it really has stretched us and really has got us outside of our comfort zone. A funny story. So our neighbors bought our book and basically have read the book, and they were just like, hey, you guys really put yourself out there in this book. And I was like, thank you, Mylan. I was already feeling exposed because after I got it all out, I was like, ooh, like I feel a little exposed right now.
That's
It's really putting
common.
yourself out there.
Yeah, yeah, that's so common. I mean,
Yeah.
even I've done that with teaching,
Yeah.
at the women's ministry. I'm teaching on something and I'm like, oh, I feel really vulnerable right now. I really shared a lot,
Yes.
just the spirit taking over, right? The Holy Spirit
Yeah.
taking over. So
Yeah.
you wrote a book called The Marriage Game Plan, Developing a Winning Strategy for Marital Success. And
Yes.
I absolutely love that title, The Marriage Game Plan,
Mhm.
because I mean, you walk into marriage and there's unexpected things that come up. And I know in my earlier years of marriage, I needed to navigate through things. And books like this really help you to set up a plan so you're prepared to respond with things that come up or how to handle things. So I absolutely love you and your husband's heartbeat on equipping and educating couples to build successful marriages that are strong in the Lord. And
Mhm.
I love how this kind of goes along with being the chaplains for the NFL, which is really what spiritual mentors for the team.
Yes, yes, yes.
Okay.
Like, it's kind of the pastor role of the team,
Okay.
because on Sundays and weekends they don't get to attend church during football season. And football season is
Right.
long. It's over 6 months out of the year, so
Yeah.
a lot of teams will just have that chaplain around for that spiritual wisdom and spiritual guidance. My
Mm-hmm.
husband works with the men. He'll have coaches Bible study, players Bible study, chapel service. But I work with the women, and with the coaches'
Yeah.
wives and the player wives and girlfriends. My
Mm-hmm.
husband has a joke, and he was like, "Oh, she can go anywhere in the building besides the locker room for fear that she might leave me for an 8-pack of abs." so
That's
so
funny.
we do Bible studies with the corporate
Yeah.
executives, and it's kind of like a church within the organization.
Oh, I love it. Well, and it's so unique. I mean, that doesn't always come across your email, inbox of having guests that are chaplains of NFL teams, and I didn't even really realize that they have that.
Yes.
So good that God has
Yes.
called you into that. So,
Mhm.
so how did that shape writing this book, The Game
Mhm.
Plan?
Yes, it shaped it tremendously because one, God just put it on our heart just through our personal struggles in marriage, and overcoming some of those obstacles. We didn't have a game plan when we got married. So, by the grace of God, we figured out how to make our marriage work. And that's why we say we are pictures of God's grace. We are not coming to help you because we are experts and that we
Yeah.
did everything right.
Yeah.
We are coming because God has shown us the path. And immediately we were just like, oh my gosh, I wish we had known that you can figure this thing out. And we
Mm-hmm.
immediately want to help other couples get that game plan. And so being NFL chaplains was a big part of God preparing us for this, because after these players retire, the divorce rate is like 70%
Mm-hmm.
after they retire from professional football. So we were just like, okay, God, you are leading us to an area that is decimated by with marriages, for us to come in and help give that game plan to coaches and players, for their marriages, because of the challenges that they face, that
Yeah.
everyday couples might not have to deal with. And
Right.
honestly, when we came with the Chargers, we felt like God also brought us to an area that has a 72% divorce rate in Orange
Mm.
County, California. And I was like, okay, so this is like God is giving us our demographic that He wants us to minister to in this area of marriages, and helping people get that game plan and being proactive too,
Yeah.
like, not reactive, because a lot of times it's in hindsight after you've been struggling and you never really reached out to get that game plan, which is never too late to get a game plan. So let me just say that.
Yeah.
But it's about being proactive and laying out that plan so that you can set yourself up for success.
Yeah.
George Dad used to say, if you fail to plan, then you plan to fail, right? So
Mm,
having a game plan to help you navigate those things
yeah.
is going to be crucial.
Yeah, yeah, 100%. So you wrote in your book about a vision statement, and I think that's so great because none of us are thinking about writing a vision statement for our marriage, right? Like we're thinking, our dreams, our careers or, something other than a marriage. So when
Yes.
I read that, I was like, wow, that's a aha moment there to write down a vision statement for your marriage. So you say that's an important first step. I can understand that, like why before you when you're plotting your plan. So let's talk about that. What do you mean by vision statement?
Yeah.
How would you do that?
Yeah. So a vision statement is starting with the end in mind, right? Like we're not just doing marriage haphazardly going nowhere. You have to
Right.
know where you're going. So you set that vision statement, which then serves as a compass to direct your steps, your actions, your decisions, your behaviors. Now you know what you're aligning it for, right? Not just randomly,
Yeah.
but hey, we're heading towards something. There's something that's the end game goal. That's the end game picture that we want to reach. And so it just gives you more structure and direction as your as spouses. It puts you on the same page, going in the same direction. And sometimes
Mm-hmm.
we assume that we are on the same page as couples, but you can't assume that. You actually have
Yeah.
to make sure that we are on the same page and that we have that same vision in mind, or you're going to
Mm-hmm.
be frustrated and bumping heads with each other.
Yes, assumptions are dangerous.
Yes.
I know that. That was good that you said that. You can't just assume because there's so many times disagreements came up, conflict came up in our marriage because we both assumed, each
Yes.
other or what we are thinking or what we were going to do and so that's good. That's good to have the end game in mind like you
Hmm.
said and being intentional. That's just being intentional and being on
Yes.
purpose, like you
Hmm.
said. And so let's talk about what you said in your book. And it contains four main purposes that God had in creating marriage. And I think
Hmm.
this is so important for us to know. So maybe chat about one of them. Maybe it's the one that marriage reflects God's image to the world. If you have another one, that would be
Hmm.
great.
Yeah.
What would you like to share on that?
Yeah. So, yes, one of the purposes of God is to reflect his image to your family and to your community and to your spouse, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, I like to say, like, marriage is God's idea and he has a purpose for it to
Mm-hmm.
carry out. So, it's not just about meeting our needs. It's not about us just being self-focused, but how can we represent God in our actions, the way we love, the way we forgive, the way we serve. So
Mm-hmm.
God chose the family to be the vehicle in which he wanted to pass his legacy, his nature on
Yeah.
to the next generation. So
Good.
reflecting God's image is legacy work. So you want to make sure that you are representing God's nature and character
Mm-hmm.
to your kids and to your family and to your community around you. And I always like to say, because we live in a selfie generation, where we are obsessed with making sure we put the best images of ourselves out there on social
Yeah.
media. I watch my daughter and her friends take 1,000 photos and only one is worthy to be
Yeah.
seen to reflect what image they want to reflect, right?
Hold on. Have you ever been the photographer for your
Oh,
daughter?
oh
I
yes,
have. And it was like, no, mom, no, no. And
exactly.
then handed me the phone again. No, higher. No, this. No, I
Yes,
told you to stand it. I was like, oh my gosh,
yes,
I wanted to throw the phone at one point. I was like, I'm not doing this. I walk away.
yes. Oh yes, I have been banned from
Yeah.
from taking photos. but
Oh,
yes, and
yeah.
so it's like what a beautiful opportunity for marriage to be that best selfie to reflect
Yeah.
God's image to the world, to our community, and to our kids and our family. It's so just
Yeah.
having that in mind. It's not about us, but what how can we introduce God? How can we show him to the others around us through that
Yeah.
image?
So good. And the biblical of, the husband treating the wife like Jesus treats the church,
Yes.
and it's just like you were saying when you were talking about the reflection of God's nature. There's just so much beauty in marriage. So you touched on rest and recovery, like every athlete has to rest and recover. So what does that mean in a marriage? What rest and recover? What does that look like? What do you and your husband do?
Yes, yes. So, what we've learned from professional athletes is that rest and recovery is just as important as how you play the game, right? I
Mm-hmm.
just feel like we're living in a world that you feel like you are so driven and you have to accomplish and achieve. And sometimes you feel guilty to take time out for that rest and recovery so that you
Mm-hmm.
can have more capacity to go out here and do the things and operate at your peak levels. You have to have a rhythm of rest and recovery. As families and couples, we are so busy. I mean, the schedules are so demanding, and it's not like the schedule is going to ever just say, okay, here's where you go and you rest and recover. And so
Mm-hmm.
we have to create those rhythms in our lives,
Yeah.
is just taking that time to so we can have the capacity to love each other as spouses, the capacity to have that quality time with our kids. So making sure that
Mm-hmm.
we couples know, like, no, this is an intentional act to say, if I want to give my best,
Mm-hmm.
if I want to have more to give, I have to give myself permission to rest and recover and not feel guilty about that, right? Not to,
Mm-hmm.
uh, like the Bible is, God is our example, and he
Mm-hmm.
rested. On the seventh day, he rested, right? And surely we're not as important or as busy as God himself, right? Like it's okay to have that rest and recovery, and it's important to have it.
Yeah. I just look back at how many times my husband and I went on dates when our kids were younger. It was
Yeah.
like, oh, what a treat to get away. And then as they grew up, we wanted them to come with us, to
Yes.
dinner or whatever, because they're now, you don't
Yeah.
feel like you necessarily have to get away, and
Yeah.
have that break. It's just
Yeah.
fun because they're growing up as young adults and, yeah, come to the movie with us and
Mhm.
come have dinner because, they can act, mature and it's
Yes.
fun. But then I found, you go on these family vacations and it's well needed, it's a blast. But then I realized there's a difference when just my husband and I go on these weekend trips or a week long trip where it doesn't have anything to do with the kids and it's just him and I. And there's a different type of rest and recovery than if I was going on a family vacation with my kids, even though now they're older and a couple of them now have spouses. But it's like, I love that. But then I also, like you're saying, there's that rest and recovery of just rekindling and just, you know, dating each other and and just making the marriage just about him and I
Yes.
and not have these distractions of
Yes.
family things going on. It really is needed because we get done with those type of vacations. We just went to Santa Barbara recently and we did fun things together. We rode bikes, we golfed, and we loved doing those things together. And it's such a refreshment. You get back and you feel stronger in your relationship, you feel closer,
Mhm.
you're just strengthened and refreshed.
Absolutely.
Yeah.
And this is what I tell moms, especially because sometimes, moms feel guilty. I'm not sure men feel as guilty as we feel to not have the kids around, but maybe they
Right.
do.
Yes.
But I say the best gift that you can give your kids is that healthy relationship and that healthy model of prioritizing and loving each other and having that capacity to love each other. When my daughter went off to college a few
Mhm.
years ago, she wrote my husband a letter, uh, just to thank him for showing her how she wants to be loved in her marriage.
Mm-hmm.
And it just really brought him to tears, and it brought me to tears as
Yeah.
well, because that's what you want. You want your kids to see, like, whoa, like, this is fun. Marriage is
Yeah.
fun. It is hard work, but I want to be
Mm-hmm.
loved like that. I want to share my life with someone like that. And so
Yes.
it's the best gift that we can give, is to really reflect that to our kids.
Yeah. Yeah. Have them emulate our marriage, and what that looks like. Be a role model with
Yeah.
that. That's so
Hmm.
important.
Yeah.
And I absolutely love that you touched on feeling like a team, because that for me really resonates with me, because when I'm in a disagreement with my husband, you're naturally feeling like you're not on the same team, right?
Yes.
And you're looking at them like they're the enemy. And
Yes.
and so as soon as I cut that lie, that division that the enemy wants you to live in with your spouse, as soon as I start to tell myself we're on the same team, or if I say it out loud with him, hey, we're
Hmm.
on the same team, because it's usually like something with the kids or something
Yeah.
like that,
Yeah.
right? And
Yeah.
you have this feeling, he's got his own opinion, and then you just feel like you're not on the same team. But
Hmm.
really you are. The enemy just likes to come in and try to, make you feel like you're not. And so, because God designed marriage, as you know,
Yes.
where it's us, then the kids, and we can get that so flipped, where it's
Hmm.
like kids come first, and you kind of push your husband out of the way, and I got this, with the
Hmm.
kids. And it's like, no, that's not how it works. It's like you and your husband are first, then your kids. So it's like it's God, you guys, and kids. And so just realizing that and shutting down that lie and saying we're on the same team, it just destroys the
Yeah.
conflict. I feel like it really starts to develop this unity that you're trying to have that in-game plan in mind, right?
Yeah.
so
Yeah.
so I would love for you to just touch on that.
Yes, absolutely. So being on the same team, it reframes. You have to have that recalibration when you're in conflict, that you aren't enemies. You might feel like it, but you have to recalibrate that mentality that you are enemies, because like you said, like there is an enemy that wants to see you divided, that does not
Yeah.
want to see you get on that same team and work as a team, because
Yeah.
that's what the recalibration is. It's like, oh, well, if this is my teammate and not
Mm-hmm.
my enemy, then I can be open to their influence, their perspective. I can invite that in, and we are working towards a unified solution to this
Mm-hmm.
plan.
Mm-hmm.
It just helps align you. It helps put you on that side, on the opposite side of, okay, we're not the problem. The problem is the problem, right?
Yeah.
And so
Right.
let's work together to find this solution. So that team mentality does bring in that unified approach to those things that might cause us to feel divided, but it's not true. We're not divided. We want the same things. That's what the Bible is talking about with that oneness. It's like, no, we need to, when we can solve these problems as a team, it brings us into alignment, and it brings us more reinforced in our oneness as we move forward as a couple.
Yeah, that's so good. You had touched in your book about the common pitfalls of trust.
Mhm.
So, share a little bit on that. What are some common pitfalls that can occur when it comes to trusting our spouse?
Yes, some common pitfalls are just not realizing that trust is a gift, and it is easy to lose and is hard to regain. So if you have your spouse's trust, you view that as a precious gift and work really hard to not lose that trust.
Yeah.
And a lot of times couples don't realize that when when I'm not keeping my word in even little things, or the consistency of my actions and choices and behaviors, it can give a unsafe feeling in the
Mhm.
relationship, which could lead to mistrust, that you don't have my best interest at heart. And trust
Mhm.
is basically that you have my best interest at heart, that you're
Mhm.
not out here to harm me, you are for me, and you are not against me, right? And
Yeah.
so that is picked up in the little decisions that we make and the choices that we make. And social media has really brought in another whole element of having those trust building choices and behaviors that are to help your
Mhm.
spouse feel safe in the relationship. So um,
Yeah.
setting those boundaries with opposite sex friendships
Mhm.
or relationships.
Mhm.
I tell the story in the book about George and I were at this celebration, and it was like a outside barbecue, and so it was like a big party, and a friend of ours was going through a divorce, and he was hurting, and
Mhm.
I'm a professional counselor, therapist,
Right. Right.
so people are usually drawn to me
Yeah.
for that. They feel that, and so
Right.
he just wanted to just talk to me, and we were just in the corner. George says we were in the corner for a long time, and it looked like an intimate conversation. And George was like, I'm really not comfortable with this.
Mhm.
And I said to him, I said, George, well, you don't have to worry about that again, because
Mhm.
I will never want you to feel unsafe in your relationship with me. That is a trust building response. A non trust building response would be, oh man, it was nothing. Get over it. You don't
Yeah.
be so insecure. Like, it's no big deal. You don't trust me.
Yeah.
Those are
Right.
non trust building behaviors, but trust
Yeah.
building behaviors will reflect that I have your best interest at heart. I want you to feel safe. So I will respond with safety for you.
Oh, yes, I absolutely love that. And, how many times do we say that response of, you don't trust me and,
Yes.
you're insecure, but I
Yeah.
love the right response is telling your husband that that will never happen again, and acknowledging his feelings on that, where we're not being self-focused, we're
Mhm.
looking after the needs of our spouse
Mhm.
and really paying attention to what makes them uncomfortable and what would make them more comfortable. So that's so good. Okay, I'm curious, like, if somebody is going through some marriage issues, do you have just the strategy and game plan? Do you have it where it's unique for each individual or each marriage? Or do you have it basically there's the foundations for all of the marriages, and then you kind of tweak it to their unique needs? Like, I'm just
Yeah.
trying to picture myself, you're a professional counselor and therapist, so you've got a game plan already in place for the marriage. Do you tailor make it, or do you take what you have in this book and then apply it to them, but then uniquely tailor it for them?
Yeah, yeah. I'm so glad you asked that question. This is one of the things that George and I are most proud about. We
Yeah.
created this book to be what we needed when we were going through our tough time trying to figure how to love each other and how to be married.
Yeah.
We created this book so that it is unique to each couple that's going through it. So at the end of each chapter is very interactive. So there
Mm-hmm.
are a lot of things at the end. We have questions for you to talk to each other about. We have activities that help build skills for that particular topic to help you get a game plan on the topic that we're talking about. And then there's a QR code at the in that it's called putting it into practice
Yeah.
section, all of this stuff that I'm talking about. And that QR code is where it'll lead you to a video where George and I are speaking even more, just trying to coach you on that particular chapter.
Mm-hmm.
And what the couple doesn't realize, if they are reading and doing all of the putting it into practice, what they're doing is building their own unique game plan. And by the time they get to chapter 10 is basically helping them pull everything together to create their own unique game plan that they can take with them, refer back to it as needed, adjust it as life happens, but it just starts them with their unique game plan, and it puts them on the same page and going in the same direction. And that is one of the things that we are most proud about is, okay, it's not just something you're going to read, it's something you're going to be interacting with, and you're going to be building a game plan for your marriage as a couple.
I love that. That's absolutely amazing. Yes, I'm so glad I asked that question because, it's not one fits for all, so that's so good. And I love that uniqueness about this book, and it's so good. All right. At the end, I love offering an invitation for the guests to share a takeaway, something that the listener can ponder on or take action in. What would you like to conclude for us?
Yes. So what I would like to conclude is, so getting married and being married and staying married is 3 different things, right? And it's never too late. No matter where you are in your relationship right now, it's never too late to get a game plan. One thing that Georgia and I like to say is people drown because they don't want to raise their hand to get help for their marriage. And so they drown because they don't want to draw attention to themselves. So the thing to ponder and take away is, listen, raise your hand. Don't die in a sea of lifeguards. There's so many resources out here to help you get a game plan. George and I say God has a sense of humor, that we're sitting here writing a book on marriage, helping couples. We should not be here. But because we were able to roll up our sleeves, figure this out with the Lord, and get this game plan, it saved our marriage. So I'm just encouraging each person on here, if you're finding yourself in a situation where you are struggling, and you don't have to be in a bad place, you could be in a good place, but you know that, hey, let's go ahead and get our game plan. So I just want to encourage everyone that there is hope for your marriage, and to don't drown in a sea of lifeguards. Raise your hand and get the help you need.
Yeah, that's so good. Yeah, get rid of the pride. Invite humility in. Yes. And I think it's the ones that had the struggle and know what it's like that make the best marriage counselors, the best publishers for marriage books. I mean, ones that never really truly had to struggle. What are you writing about, right? Yes. It's you gotta have the testimonies and how you overcame with God and going through those trials and hardships. So I love it. Thank you, Tondra, you and George, for the obedience and saying yes and writing this amazing book called The Marriage Game Plan, Developing a Winning Strategy for Marital Success. And where can people find you, connect with you, and buy your book?
Yes. So our book is sold on anywhere online that you get your online books or bookstores. And also our social media is at George A. Gregory, at Tondra Gregory, and at Journey for Life. And our website is journeyforlifenow.org.
Great. Well, thank you. So much wisdom on marriage and encouragement. God
bless you, Tondra. Thank you so much for having me. It was so fun. It's a pleasure meeting you.
Yeah, appreciate you so much. Thank you so much for listening today, and I trust that God has encouraged you through this story. Did you know this podcast is on YouTube? Hop on there and subscribe, and you can see a live recording of each episode. And for more information on this ministry and to access free downloads, please visit my website at jamieelizabeth.com. That's JAYME Elizabeth.com. And let's connect beyond this podcast by going to my Instagram handle, Jamie Elizabeth, She Speaks Life, or Facebook. Until next time, my friend, I hope God reveals himself through your own life story.